Oh, no. There we go. Tess, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yo, yeah. Let's
All right.
ready to rock. Hello and
Awesome.
welcome. Welcome to the Process Over Profit podcast. My name is Jack Fleming, a business, marketing, and entrepreneurship podcast. I like to sort of cover everything because I'm an entrepreneur and I feel like I do everything. We're here today with Alaethea Hankins. Did I pronounce that correctly?
It's a late.
Alaethea? Okay, okay.
Yeah, I
Cool.
know it's difficult.
I
So,
wanted to ask you that in the private chat before we started, so I wouldn't butcher it. But we're here now, and so. But before we get going, I wanted to remind everyone that this podcast is brought to you by Entra, a new professional network built for entrepreneurs, investors, creators, and freelancers. You can easily create content, grow your network, and meet new like-minded people in live rooms and events on the app. All listeners can sign up for free and also get upgraded to Entra Pro, which gives you access to over 50,000 deals and discounts with over 100 partners. Once you sign up on Join Entra, make sure to go to entra.link/jack to get upgraded to Pro and make sure to connect with me while you're on there. But back to the podcast. We originally wanted to do this when Common Desk grand is a grand opening.
hmm
It's not maybe not like I have the biggest following in the world to help with to help with the grand opening, but I thought it was just good timing.
yeah, of course.
But now we're here, and
Here
so
we are.
it looks like it's alive and well. I've definitely walked by it a few times downtown,
Yeah. Have you
but it
been in
seemed
it yet?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Well, let me know and I'll give you a day pass or something. You can go check it out.
Cool, yeah. I mean, there's definitely been a lot of new spaces that have opened recently just around here.
hmm
I've been having multiple different co-working place owners, I guess, or managers all on the podcast already, and it was like 3 or 4 different places open within a month of each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is crazy. I didn't know the whole co-working space was this big, especially just in Wilmington that quickly.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I definitely want to check it out. So common desk, I'm saying common space, common desk, co-working. I'm gonna get them confused. But it is the national brand that's in town versus most of the other places are just local.
Yes.
That has a ton of questions in itself. But why don't
Yeah,
you give
of
us a
course.
little bit of background on you? I know you're a Seahawk, so wings
Yes.
up, go Seahawks.
I am. Yeah. So I'm Alaethea, obviously. I'm currently serving as the Vice President of Operations at Common Desk. But I've been with the company for about 5 years, and I started as an assistant community manager, which is actually a role that doesn't even exist anymore, but probably would be most similar to what our community coordinator slash intern role is. So I started that in 2016 after moving to Dallas. But before that, I went to UNCW for my undergrad. Grew up military, so moved around a ton, but grew up in Fayetteville for North Carolina for a bit of the time. And so just like really felt like North Carolina was my home state. So went back for undergrad with I'm a Seahawk and studied integrated marketing communications through our comm department and had a wonderful time there. Just felt like I was super prepped for the world. And then worked in marketing for about 4 years after college at a PR firm, at a startup, and then at a church for a little bit before moving to Dallas and finding Common Desk and where I started there. And so I'm also, when I'm not doing my day job at Common Desk, I'm getting my MBA through University of Texas, McCombs Business School. So my weekends are very busy. I'm
So
on
you
my
get to
second
go from the
one.
wings
Yeah.
up to the
So the Longhorns,
Longhorn,
this
yeah.
one, yeah.
All
Yeah,
the animals.
I know. Texas actually has a lot of like hand signals for their schools. So I
Uh-huh.
know that, we have our little Seahawks and then
Yeah, there's what
back,
like the horn frog ones too or
yeah.
something. I can't
Yeah,
even
there's
do
the
it.
Horn Frog and
Yeah.
like the Pony Up for SMU, the Bears, there's Gig'em. It's super strange, but
I mean, hand signals are great. I mean,
yeah,
it's easy marketing for anyone, and as a marketing person, think we're gonna have a great conversation today
yeah,
because I do marketing. Mainly, this is why I set this up was one, I like to talk with our professionals because I did it anyway, just as a young entrepreneur.
hmm
But two, I sort of use it for SEO for my own marketing company, so I
yeah,
transcribe it and then put it on my website. But really, it's just more of a personal thing than anything. But
yeah.
I just enjoy doing this so far. I mean, I'm super young into it, still do. I'm only like 26 episodes in, so I got a little bit to go. But
This is my first podcast I've ever been on, so
that's crazy.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, especially as someone who has all this marketing experience. I guess you've been busy doing other operational things.
Yes.
But podcasts are definitely big in the content space right now, mainly because the ability to break it down into further stuff. So being able to have this half an hour to hour long piece, and then the ability to break it down into micro content for TikTok, Reels, quotes, etc., is endless. And even
Yeah.
transcribing it for SEO. I learned from Gary Vee, so yeah.
That's
But yeah. So I guess why Wilmington first and
yeah.
foremost. I get you do have a community manager there. So I mean I like talking with higher up people. So talking with the VP of Ops is even better than the community manager.
Yeah.
But I saw you had your obviously hand on it, posting on LinkedIn and telling people about it. But yeah, why Wilmington?
Yeah, that is the obvious question I think that everyone talks about, because we are, Common Desk is a Texas-based brand. Wilmington is our first location outside of Texas. And honestly, when we're looking for a new location, a new city, we really want to make sure that the city aligns with who we are as a company and our values.
Mhm.
And weirdly, even though I went to UNCW, I did not play a role in this location opening. It's been about 2 or 3 years in the making before we opened. And really, some of our values are really around like serving first, having a blast, challenge the norms. And I feel like Wilmington really fits that as a city. Like the people there, they're just fun, they're community oriented. They really want to do something different. And I think if you look at our national competitors, they're going to be going to places like New York City and Chicago, and maybe Common Desk will go there one day too. Um, but we're looking for the towns that are ripe for community and innovation and moving to those, and doing things a little bit differently than our other competitors. And so I think Wilmington was a really natural fit in what it's building there, in the entrepreneurial ecosystem that they have there, in the community minded set. And it's a small town and it's so fun.
Hmm.
It's just like a
Yeah.
fun place to be. I think anyone who's been in Wilmington knows that. It's like this nice little break
Hmm.
from the hustle and bustle of a big city. But that doesn't mean that co-working isn't a good fit. I think in a lot of ways, it's actually almost a better fit, because you have people who are there like just living their lives and ready for something like this. And unfortunately, bigger cities usually get it before these smaller towns do.
We're definitely on the map now. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I saw some tweet the other day and I responded to it. But some guy was like, "Name top 5 startup cities in the country." I'm like, I'm trying to put Wilmington on the map over here. It was like Austin, like Austin, Miami right now is big. But it's like all these huge cities, and then we're over here, a little beach town,
Yeah.
that's just trying to gain traction. But we're like what 98th in the world or something for entrepreneurial ecosystem. So we're definitely getting somewhere.
Definitely. There's so much
Um,
growth. Even since I graduated, it'll be about 10 years since I graduated from undergrad this May. And the town is so different
mhm.
now. So it's really exciting to watch all that growth, so much momentum, so many new companies, so many new ideas that are being built. Downtown is like completely different from when I was there. And I
Yeah,
love
you
watching it.
see the new amphitheater. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's really kind of sweet for me to see, like, kind of, undergrad, where I love Wilmington, such a special place to me. It's where I got married, where I met my husband, and then to have this company that I feel like I've helped really build over the last 5 years, to launch our first location outside of Texas, feels like this kind of homecoming to me when we get to do
Hmm.
it in Wilmington, because it's so special.
Cool, cool. Well, why don't you, before we talk about WeWork, because I want to talk about that IPO fail for a minute, because I feel like a lot of just general people would probably put y'all, I don't want to say side by side, because one's try to be
Yeah,
public, when y'all are private, but I feel like that's just an easy, because they've been in the news so much,
they
just an
have.
easy comparison. But before we get into that, what are basically what does Common Desk offer when it comes to co-working? I know it's what typical co-working and it's open space, um, private offices. What else?
Yeah. So, I mean, really, if you have a business and you need a place to be, we offer it. So, what we do, yes, when you think of co-working, you think of that traditional kind of like hot desk, I think is what like WeWork calls it. So, like that's what most people call it. We call it shared desk offering. But we have private offices, we have team suites, we have nights and weekends, student memberships. What we really want to provide is a workspace for anyone who needs it. And so we try to be very flexible in our model to accommodate for what um, the future of work really looks like. So that could be an entrepreneur. It could also be a team of 40 people who don't want to sign a traditional lease, but want to be in that same kind of entrepreneurial environment. And so each space is a little bit different. The Wilmington one in particular does have larger team suites on the second floor, and then a bunch of private offices on the third floor, ranging, from a 1-person to a 10-person. And then the first floor is really focused on that more like communal type of work environment, the shared desk settings. And then we have some dedicated desks too. So really, I mean, we have it all.
Do you know how it's going? I know a lot of spaces around here have been filling up pretty
Yes.
quickly. And I know even like the bank is getting involved in doing co-working spaces too.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a money play for them. But versus like some other places I know focus on different like sort of niche segments of people. Has it been going pretty well so far? I don't really know too much about
Yeah,
the news
no,
other than
it really has been. So we opened in January, really kind of still COVID times, but we had a wonderful opening. And since then have just seen a ton of growth, honestly. The community team there, Erin Ellis is the community manager, and then we have a community associate, Taylor, and then a community coordinator, Alexis. And they are just phenomenal. Their members love them. We were, I think pretty full on offices. And then shared is also growing a ton. And then, we do conference room bookings as well. So people are, local businesses can kind of do an offsite day, come in. And so we're seeing a ton of attraction. And then for our grand opening party, which is, I think when you and I first started chatting about doing this podcast.
It was like a week before it. I'm like, hey, we should do a podcast. And it would help
I'm like, hey,
with the
I'm
grand
sorry.
opening party because so many people listen to my podcast already. I get good views. I'm definitely growing, but I mean, I get good viewership on YouTube, and I put it on all the podcasting platforms too.
Yeah.
But, I was
No,
like,
that's
hey,
awesome.
we should do this little grand opening podcast.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the party was wonderful. And I think we had over 200 people come to the party. So it felt like just very well received by the town. And it was so fun to get to interact with the members there, especially since I live in Dallas, Texas. And so getting to go to Wilmington and just talk to the new community that's forming and just really see the relationships that are building. That's always so powerful. There was this member who at the end of the party came up and just said, he drives an hour and a half, 2 to 3 times a week to come to the Wilmington location because he just finds such value in it.
It's like driving up from Myrtle Beach kind of thing. Like,
yeah, exactly.
whoa.
He was driving. Yeah, I forget exactly where he was from, but he drives pretty far to come there. And that day was like the first day that his business, like he got a check for his business that he had just launched. So it was his first
that's awesome.
check. And so it was just such a sweet moment to experience that with the members and just see what Commonness is offering to the community down there.
So I mentioned some pre-questions for you, and it wasn't enough time for you to actually look through them. I like blew up your LinkedIn and like remind you. I'm like, I've just been behind. Okay, I've had multiple guests like have emergencies and then bail, and then I've had to rearrange. Luckily, I double booked this one, and the other guy I tried to get a CPA on. He was like, I'm out, and so I'm like, great, I double booked it anyway. We're good. But VP of Operations, what do you sort of do with that job title?
Yeah, definitely. So it's pretty all encompassing. I think anyone who's in operations knows there's a couple different ways you could take it. But my day to day really looks like managing the direction of our portfolio. So we have I oversee our co-working side, our property management, and our coffee side. So we are not just co-working. We do have a coffee shop in Dallas and in Houston, and we'll be bringing those into our other markets as well. We're actually opening up a Fiction Coffee in Raleigh, probably in January, December timeline. And then we also do full building management. So we have one building that we just rolled out in March of this year. And so we do like the full management and operations of that building. So I oversee all of that. And then we have around 20 co-working locations within Dallas, Houston, Austin, Wilmington, soon to be Raleigh as well. And so I just make sure that we're tracking, that we're performing operational excellence, that our staff is happy, that the members are having a great experience. And that could be something as simple as, making sure all of our systems are in place for how we brew the coffee and how we clean our spaces, to make sure that, the amenities in the bathrooms are great, to bigger picture things of like, how are they performing and how should we look at, the budgets for next year. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really pretty large. There's about 62 people on the operations team. That includes our community team staff and then some mid-level management.
Mm-hmm. So utilities management, people management, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would
How
say,
does your experience in marketing and in communication transfer over? Because I know you worked again for a PR company and a church,
yeah,
young marketing. How did the lessons learned through, I guess, college, and then that experience transfer over to now being VP of Ops?
yeah, definitely. I think what I will say about the program at UNCW for marketing was that even though it was focused on marketing, I think what I really learned was how to communicate a
Mm-hmm.
message
Okay.
in a valuable way. And that really transcends any sort of area.
Hmm.
As long as you can meet with people, talk to them, kind of sell them on the vision that you're building, that's a big skill to have. I think probably more of a soft skill, but um, it's really, really crucial, I think, for any young person going out into the world. And so, I did 4 years of marketing, like I said, and then at Common Desk, when I started, I was an assistant community manager, and within 3 months, a community manager. And the main job there is to run that space and like really think through strategies of, okay, what does it look like for this space to be excellent
Mm-hmm.
and to be thriving? And it's like, okay, well, it's not only a clean space, but it's also a full space, right? That's what we're doing. We're a business. And so thinking through those strategies and then taking the initiative to be like, here's my goals, like here's what I'm trying to reach financially, here's what I want us to like meet threshold, here's how many events I'm going to do, here's the messaging I want around that. So I feel like that really prepared me for that first community manager role, to think through that operationally, because marketing is really a part of operations. And then
Yeah.
from there, yeah, I think, just being more business minded. I think that the marketing background really helps you think about things in perspective of like, okay, it's not enough to just have a clean space. What can I do to get more people in the door? How can I expose, my members to more of each other and networking? How can I also expose the community to what we're doing? How can I bring in the community? So I feel like having that lens was just incredibly helpful.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I studied marketing strategy and
Hmm.
entrepreneurship at UNCW, so more of it in the business school realm,
Yeah, Cameron,
versus
right?
the communications. So there's
Yeah.
definitely different. I've honestly chatted with people on both ends, and I feel like they're both good in their own respectable ways. I'm not
Yep.
hating on you for doing that, or mostly likely, it's funny talking with people who like didn't get in, or like they went from marketing to communications. We're like, oh, you couldn't do calculus, could you?
It's honest. I mean, it's really true. I was really more focused on PR in my undergrad. Not
Yeah.
that I was like, marketing has so many different ways, but now in my MBA, I'm really learning like the analytical side of marketing, which is really helpful. I don't think I was ready
Yes,
for
it's
that
huge. Hmm.
when I was younger, but I think now that I have the background of what it looks like to like see a company go from 2 locations, because when I started, we had 2 locations. I was the 8th employee to now 20 locations, 80 employees. You know, that skill set I think was just like helpful,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
continues
Hmm.
to be.
Yeah, WeWork,
Yeah,
IPO, failure, lots of, I guess, poor PR based on that. Did you see any of that PR transfer over to what people perceive for y'all? Um, since
yeah,
you are in very similar spaces, probably not necessarily global, more
yeah.
just within the United States, but did you see any people's like, I guess, not intentions, but what they thought of y'all was
Yeah,
similar to WeWork?
definitely. When I first started at Common Desk, when I told people what I did, like, oh, I work at a co-working space, most people would be like, I don't know what that is. Like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
saying? And so I used to just say, I'm in real estate. I think the biggest change that has happened is that WeWork really put co-working on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And so the conversation changed from, I don't know what that is, to, oh, like WeWork.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so in a lot of ways, I think that was really helpful for the industry. It
Hmm.
does, stink that kind of all the press around that was around like not a very successful IPO. But I relate it to sort of like Starbucks. So Starbucks, they put this craft coffee scene on the map way back when, and now people kind of equate that with, like with coffee. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think WeWork did a really similar path for us, where no one really knew what co-working was or what like flexible office space was. And then WeWork put put us on the map. And so now the conversations are a lot easier because you're not trying to explain what co-working is to people. You can at least start with like a basic understanding of what it is. And then of course there's the natural, people are comparing like, how are you different? What's different about you guys? How did this impact you? And so I think it presented a lot of opportunities for all co-working brands, to say, yeah, that's one way to do it. Here's how we do it. And so I think in general, it was actually pretty beneficial, I would say, for co-working in general, because I think it put us on the map.
Awesome. Being in tune, I think that's good too when brands are able to almost shift due to other competitors' brands' poor publicity.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, we do this better.
Yeah.
Like you saw them and what they do and what they offer, but we're doing this better because blank. It's really cool to be able to shift, and also it does come down to the consumer being able to shift their, I guess, knowledge and of the industry and what co-working is and or the space, because some people are like super hard set and be like, I don't like this.
Yep.
But just the ability for especially marketers to be able to almost like change people's ideas of things is huge.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it, like, even from a marketing perspective, you know, before the message was around education, around what co-working is, and now we get to start from a different point, which I think is really helpful. The education piece of like trying to help people understand what we offer, that's great, but it's really nice to be able to kind of be like a little bit further down the road with your marketing efforts.
And being this in tune with, I guess, startups and having just people, I mean, I guess it technically doesn't have to be a startup. I guess
Yeah.
startups typically tend to go that way, because people are just sick of working in a garage or their own place that they want to go somewhere else, especially with coffee, or just to be around other people. It's a community. But what are you seeing as just in general for startup culture right now? Are you seeing any shifts in the amount of different businesses people are doing, or what are your sort of I guess claims on current startup culture, and then we can go into future claims and
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah, of course. So I think what's different or interesting about Common Desk is we actually do focus, I would say, more on small businesses. That's what I see a lot of.
Mhm.
Um, so not people who are coming in and like making this brand new idea. It's more of like, hey, I have this family business and I really want to focus on it and I need a space for that. Which I really love because they also get to be around entrepreneurs or people who are really startup focused. And so it's like
Mhm.
a nice melting pot, I think. Like in our locations in some of our Dallas spots, there could be a really large company like a Walmart who's there, who's also interacting with these smaller companies like an entrepreneur, and also like, hey, I have a
Hmm.
lawn care business that
Hmm.
I want to service out of here. So I think what we're seeing as more people move towards like flexible office space is really kind of this mending of all different types of businesses interacting with each other. Whereas before it used to be so just entrepreneurship focused, and startup focused, where I think like there's even like, there's probably some memes around that of just like the startup kind of culture and what it's like in the
Hmm.
co-working space. And I I believe the future and kind of what I'm seeing right now is a melding of all of those things together in our
Hmm.
spaces.
Hmm. Do you see that continuing for, since you're, I guess, focusing more on small businesses?
Yeah.
Do you see that continuing in the future? What do you think is gonna? I mean, guess with COVID, and certain, I definitely, or even, yeah, COVID, and then some businesses having people want to return to work, but
Mhm.
some doing like mixed, and or you come in some days, you don't the other. What are some things that you see might happen in the very near future for entrepreneurship and small businesses?
Yeah, I think flexibility.
Hmm.
That's what people are looking for. They're looking for a flexible hybrid work model. And, I think it's hard to predict trends, well into the future. We could have never predicted COVID happening and the big shift that it took on the workplace. However, I believe that what employees want and what people are looking for is around flexibility, being able to have a little bit of in person, but also the flexibility somewhere else or work from
Hmm.
home. And so I think that trend is here to stay for a while. And I think we're going to see larger companies. We are already seeing larger companies trying to find um, what could work for their employees. Because even around employee retention, if that's what people want, they're currently shifting to try to find that. And so in order for employers to keep the good employees, they need to make sure that they're focusing on what they want and, creating productive work environments. A lot of that is around providing flexible office space. So I think the big trend you'll see is these larger companies that are partnering with co-working firms to provide their employers or their employees more flexibility, which I think actually is it's really wonderful, because then you have all these different businesses, all these different types of people coming together, and you get to learn from each other in the co-working space, whereas traditionally it would have been like, okay, if you work at this large corporation, you're probably not going to talk to anyone else besides the people who also work there. But with the co-working space, you're able to actually probably innovate and have more ideas because you're exposed to more people with different backgrounds than you.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a big HR play.
Yeah.
I would say more just making sure your employees, especially with the unemployment or whatever it is right now, with people that I think that's going to stop very quickly. I think payments coming to an end or something. So hopefully people try to go back to work. North Carolina's not good on that right now. It's just somewhere at the bottom of some list. But yeah, it's definitely big for HR and making sure employees are happy, because obviously they're the productivest ones in a business. As a manager, your job is really the employee, helping them do the best that they can.
Employee experience, employee morale. It's a big part of leading a team, being on top of those trends. And so I think we're going to see a lot of these larger businesses. We are already seeing a lot of larger businesses trying to strategize about what the next 12 to 24 months look like for their teams. And flexible office space is a big part of it.
What are any tips you have for people, let's say in college, let's say they're a communications major at UNCW, just as an example, going and trying to get a job right now? Obviously you have experience management, operations, marketing, pretty much a lot in business. Would you say that they should try to get a job in startups or small businesses and or medium to large size businesses like y'all? What are any tips or advice you can give to people who are in college right now?
I think that's a really great question, because I think people need to assess what they want. So when I was an undergrad, I had thought that I really wanted to go work for a very large corporation. That's what I wanted. So working for a PR firm that has thousands of employees. And then I got there and I realized, oh, this isn't actually at all what I want. What I want is a little bit more freedom. I want more creativity. And so I think it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking to gain a ton of experience by watching others and kind of learning within a really clear set guardrail system, then probably the startup life is not for you. If you're more of a hands-on type of learner, you want to have a lot of responsibility at a very young age. Startups, small businesses, I think that's a great place to start, because I was able to get so much experience by working as at a startup when I was 23. That was my first job after the PR firm. I was their director of marketing before they probably should have even had one, right? But I had so much experience, so much autonomy to really try different things and to learn and to grow really fast. And I think that really helped shape my career, because when you learn to make mistakes early on and pivot, I think it allows you to just be more resilient in your career. So I think it really depends on what people are looking for and the strengths they bring to the table. And I think people have to be honest with themselves about that. And if you want a fast-paced environment where you get to try a bunch of different things and own that process, both the success and the failure, then a startup or small business is a great place, even a mid-sized business like Common Desk. But if you're not looking for that, then definitely don't work at a startup.
That's a great one-liner. Guardrail versus hands-on learning.
Yeah.
Love it. But yeah, if you have any calls to action or anything you want to plug, I mentioned I put your LinkedIn down below. But I mean, if anybody should follow Common Desk on any social media, you got any calls to action for the viewers and listeners?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, please follow us. Follow Common Desk on Instagram. I would say that's our major play. You can see us on LinkedIn as well. And then we're growing, and so for any young students who are looking for experience within like hospitality, real estate, I would love to meet you guys. I would love to hear from you, especially UNCW grads. I have a heart for my undergrad, so I would
They're
love.
doing a career fair in 15 days to 22nd if y'all want to
Okay,
jump in. It's virtual.
yes.
So
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So we're going to be hiring in Raleigh and probably expanding North Carolina, but also in Texas. We have a lot going on. So if you want to try, come, move out of North Carolina into Texas, we have a lot going on there. And then please go check out our Wilmington location. It's
I
really
think
great.
y'all will be a really cool addition to I feel like the same people sort of just come around to UNCW employment events. It's like the Port, Bank of America, PPD, Encino.
The more corporate side.
So I think it'd be cool for someone new like y'all to come in.
Yeah, we've been working with a bunch of different colleges. I'm going to college college job fairs. So that's like a big initiative as we're growing out our HR department.
You get some college recruiters, hire them.
Yeah, exactly. So our community coordinator at our UNCW or at our Wilmington location is a UNCW student. So that's great.
Oh, that's easy enough. Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, exactly. So
well,
check us out. Please come down. We're on 226 North Front Street. So come down.
They're across from what, Waffle House?
We are across from
really
Waffle House,
dangerous. But I think when I drop or when I walk by, I at least see that y'all are attempting to possibly make a coffee place inside the Wilmington. Like it looks like the counter is made. It might just be like you'll have a specific way that you build things, and they all have that in the front.
Yeah.
But it looks like you're attempting to at least.
Yeah, that's our hospitality bar. And so if you're, it's not a public coffee shop, but if you're a member, you do get access to the coffee. As a member, you get bottomless drip coffee always at any of our locations. But we also, since we have that coffee brand, Fiction Coffee, we do like these mini coffee shops in the front of our spaces that are members only. And instead of, paying $7 for a latte, it's half off. So it's like, $3.50 or something like that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's nice. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to go get myself some coffee right now.
Okay,
mainly just because on this video, apparently I've been yawning and trying to hide it. So I'm sorry for that. Very unprofessional, but I need coffee. It's like starting to rain here now and it's hitting me. But definitely, thanks for getting on. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
It was awesome to have you. I know it took a while to schedule out, but it was super cool to talk about co-working and startup/small business culture, and just if graduates are looking to get the jobs anywhere, it's just cool to talk about all those subjects. And I sort of ask everyone the same thing in that realm, but that's really I guess what I'm close to since I'm 24 and a recent graduate, and I guess doing my own marketing business sort of as a startup. I'm sole owner. I sort of just ask questions in the realm of that, and people tend to have really good answers. I think you get the most action response from that though, because college students are most likely the ones who put that in actual play.
Yeah, of course.
So like they'll actually take this, hey, like, okay, guardrail versus hands-on, like that literally actually might influence someone's decision up here in the next couple of months when they choose a job. So that's really cool to see. But definitely thanks for being on. I'm glad we could chat, and I'll have to stop by sometime. Looking forward to that.
Yes, please do, and let me know if you do. Yeah, let me know if you do.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for being on. Alaethea.
Alaethea, yeah.
Yes, got it right.
Yeah,
See ya.